and welcome to Prescott Talks on Prescott E-News. I'm Brad Newman, local yokel, and today we're talking again about the metric system.
Yes.
That is about Jeff Metrick's congressional campaign.
Yes.
District 1.
Yep.
For the Libertarian Party.
Yes.
Well, good for you. Welcome to Prescott. Prescott has a great history and association with the Libertarian Party of Arizona. You know, our great mayor.
Mr. Steiger.
Mr. Steiger, and that's why we have a crosswalk in the middle of Whiskey Row.
Nice.
The great Sam Steiger. Well, welcome, and thank you for taking time with us. And thank you for your service in the United States Army.
You're welcome.
And thank you for taking on this assignment. What brings an otherwise sharp young man to politics, and particularly the Libertarian Party?
What brought me into politics was just seeing how our country has really kind of broken apart. We've become very fractured, very tribalized, very regionalized within this country. And I just am like, we need to come together. Like, and you can say that's hippy dippy, whatever, but we need to come together because Republicans and Democrats all want sort of the same thing. They have a different way of wanting to do it. But libertarianism is like, let's bring it together and do it in a way that best advances freedom, liberty for people, and justice, and also limiting the role of government because government can make people very dependent. As Ronald Reagan said, the most dangerous words in the English language are, I'm from the government, I'm here to help.
Oh, we've heard that once or twice. It's really true, isn't it sad?
It is.
Isn't it sad? Well, you're a history major.
Yes.
Before you went to the service. After you came back from the service, thank you. And what were some of the books that touched you deeply?
Just An Army for Empire, and that was actually sort of my own reading. I did a lot of research and stuff outside of school, outside of college, because that was one of my minors was history, but my main degree is political science. It was Power Projections. There were a bunch of different books, and this was 11 years ago, so I'm trying to remember those books from back then. But yeah, it's just a bunch of like dealing with like particularly U.S. foreign policy from the Spanish-American War until really the fall of the Soviet Union in 91. It was really dealing with how we projected our interests abroad.
We thought for a moment there it was the end of history, but here we go again.
Yeah.
Here we go again. Well, good for you. And your Congressional District 1, which was, of course, our old congressional district number, but you are largely in Maricopa County, the great state of Maricopa.
Yes.
And you're here in Prescott, and what brings you to Prescott today?
Just meeting people. I just want to spread this message of liberty and just live and let live and really have people just understand that you can be conservative, you can be liberal, but everyone wants that freedom, that liberty. We want to be able to pursue our own happiness. We don't need to do it at the expense of someone else to pursue our happiness. It's not a zero-sum game for us. We need to come together and just really focus on what makes us united and not different. Yes, you're conservative, I'm a libertarian, but me and you agree on a lot of things. Why can't we just go, let's advance these things we agree on? I
think it's interesting. We've chatted off camera about your experiences as an Uber driver.
Yes.
And you have passengers from not only all over Arizona, but very cosmopolitan as they all come to Scottsdale and Arizona.
Yeah.
And
especially with spring training.
Well, sure. Now that it's back.
Yes.
Thank goodness. And everybody seems to kind of, as you interview them, you get to know them and they get to know you and their drive across the valley. And we find that carload of people all are in agreement.
Yeah, I've noticed this. It cuts across racial backgrounds, economic background. It cuts across all of it. People want freedom. People want to be able to go, I can be responsible for myself. Because you really look from the Great Society under Lyndon Johnson, you really started to see poverty was on the decline. But then once that hit, it started plateauing again. And it's never really been done away with and weaned off of, because if I Brad, if I can make you dependent on me, are you ever going to vote against me? It's all about buying votes, and both sides do it. They have their own particular groups they target, but it's all about buying votes. It's not about doing what's in the best interest of the most people. It's about what's doing in the best interest of my group, my tribe.
Oh, my. I want to go to your website and maybe talk about a couple of the bullet points that you have highlighted in your voyage across District 1 in Arizona. The Constitution.
Yes. The Constitution needs to be fully protected because the Constitution doesn't exist to regulate individuals. It exists to regulate the government, what they can and can't do to individuals. A lot of people don't understand what everyone thinks the First Amendment, Second Amendment are positive amendments. They're actually negative amendments, and I'll explain what that means. You have the right to free speech, No one's obligated to give you a platform. Prescott News is not obligated to give me a platform to speak on. They chose to, and I'm thankful for that.
Very interesting. That's a very compelling argument. I'm going to jump down to upholding. You mentioned the Second Amendment. Upholding the Second Amendment.
Yes. We don't need to have the government micromanage who can own a firearm. If you are a nonviolent felon, after you've served your time, both probation and prison term, you have all your rights restored, full stop. Not just your Second Amendment. You have your right to vote. Everything is fully restored because you've paid your debt to society, right? That's how our system is based. You've served your time. You've paid your penance. Why do we make people jump through hoops to get their rights restored? That should be almost a non-starter. It'd be like your rights are restored as of this day because you finished your time.
Doing a crime with a gun?
Doing a crime with a gun, yes, that is a little different because you've committed a victim crime. But I'm talking even victimless crimes. People still have to go through probation, all this, and it's still a legal process to get their rights back. And the Second Amendment is a very fundamental amendment because it allows us to protect ourselves.
I wonder if the people of Ukraine had a Second Amendment, would this crisis be quite as explosive as it is? I'm going to move down, if I may, because it's a very important issue to Arizona. Immigration.
See, this is the thing that I actually am proposing and want to see done is we need to fix the immigration problem. We have a problem on our southern border. We can't escape this anymore. We've tried to cover it up. It's not going to work. We need to, and this may be controversial in the Libertarian Party and it may be controversial to Democrats, but it's the only real, both practical and humane way to handle it, is you have to close the border for the time being. You process everyone into detention centers. You make sure that they're not criminals in their home country. Within 1 year to 18 months, you'll be able to pass a constitution test and at least be conversational language. You don't have to be perfect because no one speaks English perfectly in this country. Let's be real.
Heck no.
And then you stay crime-free for 2 years. That's 3 years, maybe 3.5 years. And then at the end, you get to go to an immigration office or a courthouse, like the one right here in Prescott, and you raise your right hand and take your oath of citizenship, or you can choose to leave your country. But if you've been in this country for 3 years and you've been a productive member of it, and you see the freedoms, you see the liberties that we have in this country, we welcome you as a citizen. We can't be exclusionary because that doesn't help anyone else.
No, we're a nation of immigrants.
Yes, we are.
A nation of legal immigrants. I asked our former senator to join me after a luncheon and say, come with me to the emergency room. And let me hear about your open border policies as we make our way through the local emergency room.
Yeah.
But that's down the road. Civil liberties.
Yes. I believe that people should have the right to say what they want. And everyone uses the analogy of you can't scream fire in a crowded theater. Actually, yes, you can, as the Supreme Court actually ruled on that case. We just need to have people's rights protected. Civil asset forfeiture, which ties into criminal justice reform, is... Do you know what civil asset forfeiture is, Brad?
I'm not familiar.
Civil asset forfeiture is basically you can have money, property, and you can get pulled over for a victimless crime, taillight being out. There are stories of it happening, particularly in like Louisiana, where there are certain cities that's what they do. They'll confiscate your property, not charge you with a crime. You're not convicted, but they take that property and go, we believe it was used or was acquired through nefarious means, most likely drug deals. Because if you test money, at least most of the money will have some trace of cocaine on it. They'll have some trace of a drug on it. Because it gets circulated so much, then you have to fight to get your property back. And usually you pay more in terms of fighting it to get it back than what it's really worth. So they just collected $8,000, $9,000, $10,000, $100,000 from you. And you weren't convicted, you weren't found guilty, nothing. You weren't given your due process.
Wow. Well, civil liberties and a lot of aspects of it are in the conversation these days.
Yes.
Voting access, voting rights. We're being told some of these proposals are restricting the vote. I don't quite make that connection, but where are you at with some of this access to the polls? So.
I believe that everyone who is a legal U.S. citizen should have access to the polls. I believe it's not that hard to have an ID to prove who you are. You have to have an ID to buy cigarettes, alcohol, all that. And people may say, well, that's very restricted. No, because you can go on YouTube and find out people who will actually talk about it. And they'll be like, no, I know exactly how to get a license, get an ID. And you can do it, and it's not hard.
It's kind of insulting to say to a
It's patronizing.
It's patronizing. You're not capable of getting an ID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Patronizing people ultimately makes them feel worse about themselves. And it's a very negative way to do it. And that's something both parties have done. They patronize a certain groups of people. And it just, stop patronizing people. Let people truly be great. Let people step into who they are.
Mm.
As long as you're not hurting anyone else, let them be the iron fist dictator in their own life, because we are all entitled to that as being sovereign human beings. We're entitled to live our life how we want, what we want in our life, as long as we don't take or hurt from other people.
I told you, we're doing the metric system today. Well, very good, very good. I think we instituted some voting changes for the pandemic, and then there's a vein of people that want to keep it that way.
Yeah.
Now, mail-in voting for everybody, no reason. I don't. It just.
I think mail-in voting is a good thing if you're housebound, if you're an
Sure.
invalid, or if you're a senior. Yeah.
There always was you had to have a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. And I'm actually for it because it engages everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have a system in this country that we have a duopoly system, two-party, Democrat and Republican. I'm actually a proponent of ranked choice voting, which actually will incentivize more people to vote, because then people can vote for a Libertarian, and it's not a wasted vote as Republicans and Democrats.
All right, give me that phrase again.
Ranked choice voting.
Uh-huh.
So basically, let's say me and you are running, and there's a third person. Let's say you get 30% of the vote, I get 40% of the vote. That's 70%. He gets another 30%. Well, the people that voted for him may have voted for you second, me third. Their votes will go to you until we reach 51%. And then that's the winner.
Mm.
And that makes people have a vested interest in actually learning more about the candidates,
Mm-hmm.
because it's not, you're not just checking a D or an R. You're actually like, let's see what these people stand for.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where you get more competent government and more compassionate government. Because when you have people that have been in office for 30, 40 years,
We've got a bunch of them.
turnover rate is like 2 to 5% in non-presidential years in the House and Senate. And it's like, really? And we have a Speaker of the House who's almost 80. And we have a senator who's almost 90.
Yeah.
And we have problems that are going to need solutions that someone my age is going to come up with, because we've done the same thing for so long and we're continuing down the same path. We're continuing to be more divided, more disunified. We need to come together again, because Brad, me and you together can rebuild something. But if we're against each other because of tribal issues, are we going to really sit down and talk and have a conversation? Or are we going to look at each other, call each other names, and just be uncivil to each other and be kind of to put it bluntly, a crappy human?
Well, that's not getting us anywhere, is it?
No.
Well, good luck to you on your campaign. And I appreciate your taking time with me and for our listeners and viewers today. And good luck out there.
Thank you, Brad.
Keep telling the story. But I'll remind the viewers where to find you on the web, and maybe chip in and maybe even volunteer for the campaign.
You can go to my website. It's jeffmetrick.com. That's metrick.com. I'm running, like I said, against David Stryker. He's a Republican. He's been in public office for 30 plus years. And it's time that we had people step up that want to be leaders, that want to actually present solutions and not just pick each other apart. If you feel that this message resonates with you, please go to my website, donate if you can. Volunteerism helps. I'm collecting signatures until the 4th of April. And any help I can give, I'm greatly appreciative of. And plus, that'll show that the message of people over party actually matters, and we can actually have freedom and liberty. And all my social media is at Win with Jeff 2022.
All right. And I suppose we can book you for a presentation to a civic club or an organization or a neighborhood club.
Yeah, just reach out through my website and
we'll
set it up.
There you are. In the Uber car.
Yes.
All right. Well, thanks again, everybody, for tuning in. Prescott Talks on Prescott E! News. Thanks so much, and we'll see you downriver.